Hello everyone, welcome. So this is our first easy paint with me on a Sunday. So some of you will know that I used to do paint calm on a Friday, but for 2025 I'm doing what's called easy paint with me on a Sunday. So I'm sharing with you my reference picture, which you can see up in the left hand corner. So that's the reference picture that I'm going to be using, but I'm also going to tweak it a little bit, and I'll show you the second reference picture a bit later on when we get to that bit. But for now, let me go through my materials. So I'm using my Light Wish sketchbook. This is 7.5 inches square. It's 100% cotton, 300 GSM paper, and this is the second Light Wish sketchbook that I've used, and I'm probably almost about halfway through this second one. So I do really like this format. I like these sketchbooks. Yeah, they're just the right size when you don't want to do a big A4 painting. So I will leave a link to the Light Wish sketchbook below. The paints that I'm using are, these are the Mission Gold Class Triple Pans watercolor, and we've got 12 colors here. I've added those in at the top. What did I add in at the top? This is an Indian red, this is a gold, and that's a white gouache. These are the colors that come in this particular set. So you've got a nice range of, I would say, everyday useful colors in this particular set. And I quite like the fact that this spins round as an extra palette to use, mixing palette. So those are the paints. I will leave a link to those. The colours that I'm actually going to be using are ultramarine, cerulean, viridian, sap green, red brown, permanent yellow deep, and lemon yellow. Now, you don't have to have the same paint set as me. You don't actually have to use the exact same colours as me. What you could do is say, right, I need two kind of blues. I need a couple of greens, a darker and a lighter one. I need a couple of yellows, one darker, one lighter, and a kind of a reddy brown colour. Could be a burnt sienna even, maybe. Yeah, that would probably do it. Or possibly a burnt umber might do it as well. So don't feel that you have to use the same colours as me. I then did some mixes so that I could see the kind of colour range that I'm going to be able to get, which I thought was rather lovely. I'm rather liking this one at the bottom, and I wish I'd written down what it was, but I'm pretty sure it's ultramarine and the red brown. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that I've remembered that correctly. But as you can see, these are quite bright colours, but they get toned down a bit when we start mixing them together. So that's my kind of colour palette that I'm going to be working on. Now, this is the sketch that I've come up with. So we've got a little bit of sky at the top here. Then we've got some fields in this part here. And the little stick lines are for little trees. This is going to be like a row of trees coming across here. We've got a couple of trees here. and these are all the fields in the forefront, I suppose, with a couple going off to the side there. So do pause the video if you want to sketch yours out in the same way that I have. I don't think there's anything difficult there to actually sketch. So hopefully that will all make sense. My horizon line really, because this is where the fields start, although it dips, my horizon line is really up here. So I've got the majority of my page as the kind of foreground, and really we've just got these mountains and the sky that are in more of the background. So yeah, I'll just hold that there for a while so that you can maybe copy that little sketch out, so that you can do something similar. Right, brushes. Let's get some brushes out. I'm going to pull out my very cheap and cheerful Princeton Snap size 12, size 6 and a size 2. So they're all round brushes, just so that I've got a mixture of sizes there. I've got some water here, and I've got a bit of a dirty old piece of kitchen towel, but that's, I reuse it and reuse it basically. So got a little bit of kitchen towel there that I'm just going to tuck under. Okay, so let us start with the sky. And I'm going to do that wet in wet, which means that I'm going to wet the paper first and just do this. My water isn't the cleanest of waters, but we're not going to worry about that. Okay, there we go. So I have wet that top section, and for the sky I want to use the ultramarine. Ultramarine is, where are you, ultramarine? You're this one. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of the ultramarine, and you can see we've kind of got some streaks going across the sky there. So I'm just going to just put those streaks in. Might need to move over a bit. There we go. And I'm just going to let the water do the rest. The water will means that the paint will disperse where the water is, and it will just give me that kind of nice effect. Then we want to do our mountains in the background, but this really needs to be dry, otherwise it's going to, the paint that we use in the mountains is going to feather into the water that is still damp in the sky. So rather than do the mountains, I think what I might do is get a little bit of, I'm going to skip and go down to some of these fields. So we're going to need some greens. Now you can use your greens as is if you would like. So I'm taking this sap green first of all. And I think I'm going to do a nice streak of the sap green going across there. And then because I've got some of this blue sap there, I'm just going to add some of the blue to it to change the colour slightly and paint in this shape. I mean, basically we're going to be painting in shapes to start off with and get our undercoat down, as I call it. So what we want to do is to make sure that we've got just some slight differences. And whilst these two are wet, we can, I'm taking my Viridian now, which is the other green, and I'm just mixing it with the green that was already on the palette, as you can see. And I want to add a bit more of the May green to it, maybe up this end. I'm just going to dab into this wet paint a little bit of the colour that I've just mixed, just so that it's not all one colour. Now I can't do this bit yet because it will be touching, so I can do this bit. So when we're doing watercolour, we have to be aware of the fact that we're going to have to do bits that are kind of in different places. Actually, that's not too bad now. Okay, let us get our mountains in then. A change of plan. Right, so now I want to mix up a colour, because they're in the background. Grey, blue kind of colours are usually in the background. So what did I choose? That red brown, which is where, there it is. So I'm going to add a bit of brown to my ultramarine blue. Oh, hold on, I'm going to bring this up a bit. So a little bit of brown. Now I'm adding a little bit more brown to my ultramarine blue. And because this brown has got some red in it, you can see I've ended up with a grey, slightly purple colour. So I'm going to use that colour for this layer. And that hopefully will mean that that recedes into the background. What I might do is take a little bit more of my red brown, as it's called, and my, let's see how I can do this. That's, I don't know, let's put it that way. There, a little bit more of my red brown and ultramarine, and I've got a slightly darker colour, and I'm just going to dab some of that darker colour in at the bottom here. And that way our mountains don't look all one, or kind of 2D, I suppose. They've got a little bit more going on for them. Right, can we, this is not too bad. Let's move down to this field now. And I think for this field, maybe we'll go a little bit more golden. So I'm going to take some of the red brown and some of this permanent yellow deep, a bit more. There we go. So that I get, no, maybe even a bit more. I mean, you can choose your own colours. You don't have to have the same colours as me. But, you know, quite often we've got fields that have got different plants in them, where the farmers are growing different things. So, and I quite like the idea of having this splash of a bright colour going across there. Now I'm just going to take the permanent yellow deep. And again, I'm just into my wet wash, I'm just dabbing some extra in there, so that if I bring that up, hopefully you can see we get a little bit more of something else going on. So there we go, that's that one. Right, can we go back? That's still a bit wet. Right, in order to do this one and this one, I think I'm going to dry. So I will be back in 2 ticks. Okay. Now, I do want to point something out to you, because it happens to the best of us. Can you see I've got a bit of a bloom going on here? So they can be tricky. I'm just going to take a damp brush and see if I can blend that hard line out a little bit. So you can see this is just a damp brush, and I'm going to take that right up to the edge there and just make it a little less obvious. But we want some texture going on, so that doesn't matter. Okay, let's get this field in. So I think for this field, I might go with my ultramarine and add a little bit of yellow to it. Ooh, there we go. That gives us quite a nice green. So let's fill in this shape. So the thing to remember is, you know, if you're going up against a wet edge, then the paint will move, basically. And then we'll take a little bit of the ultramarine and we'll make with our wet in wet. We'll just allow that to mingle so that we get a line of trees without having to do a thing. There we go. So I'm not, you know, this picture was really just as a reference. I'm not trying to copy this picture in any way whatsoever. So let's take our May green again. And on our reference picture, we can see it's quite yellowy underneath. So just as I might have to yellow that down even further. So just to get a colour down. There's a background colour because I'm going to do more with this front piece, but I need to bring up a different photograph. So I want to get all the other details in first. So I'm going to put this colour in the foreground here. And then I'm going to be layering on top of it. Right, while that dries, because this is dry, well, actually this one's dry, is it? Let's start up the top here. Let's get our little trees in at the top here. And I'm going to go back to my red brown. And I'm going to get some little stalks in. And then with my red brown, I'm going to mix some yellow in with that, a bit like we did before, but I want it to be more muted than this. So I'm going to just make those into some tree shapes by dabbing. If you look, dab, dab, dab. That's literally all I'm doing. Dab, dab, dab. So that we've got some little trees in the background there. And we can add, where's my brown gone? There we go. We can add some of that brown in, just so that we get some interest going on. Let's move over to these trees here, and with our brown we can get these in, and I think we'll go with a really dark green for these. So let's take the what was this, cerulean, which I think, looking at it, is probably more phthalo blue. I'm just adding some of these greens that are here, adding a bit of this yellow. We want everything to tie together. There we go. Now I've ended up with a nice dark green. And let's just get the shapes for this, for these two trees in. And I'm leaving a little bit of white space. There we go. I think that's quite a nice shape. And then we can get these in. So I'm going to start by putting some of my brown down. And then I think we might go back to using some of this kind of reddy brown colour with a bit of green mixed in. Well, it's a bit of everything, isn't it? But that's okay. I'm just using the colours that are on my palette to get the shape of these trees in. And because I'm using all these different colours, it gives quite a nice effect. So and I will add to that a bit when they're dry and get some other little branches in, and I'll probably add to that as well. So let's just look at my other picture then. Here we go. So I've changed my reference picture. Can you see all these lovely lines in the field? This is why I drew those lovely lines down here. So I'm going to give this all a dry. I'm going to fill this bit in and then come back and do details. Okay, there we go. We're looking quite nice and dry. So now I'm going to go down even smaller to a number 2 brush, and I'm going to get some of these colours. Actually, I'm going to add some of the colours that I've been using, just popping them on the palette here and there, wherever there's a space, basically, just so that I've got my colours available to me. I don't mind that they're all going to be mingling in. That's not a problem. But what I do want to do is get some lines in. So let's just, we can do a couple, maybe even 3 that are in that kind of colour. And then I think I'm going to move on to having a couple that are green. And I even want a couple that are blue. So then I'm going to take my bigger brush, biggest brush, size 12, and I'm just going to allow them to kind of mingle, if they will. And if not, I'm going to help them with a bit more paint. So I'm just adding more colour here, but we've still got that underpainting of the lime, kind of limey green colour that I used. There we go. So now we get quite a nice, I've blobbed, we'll just move that up. We get a nice effect going on. In fact, that's literally just taken it off, hasn't it? But that's fine. We can just, I'll blend that a bit. There we go. Right, now I want to get some more detail into these trees. So I'm so tempted to get my coloured pencils out, but I'm going to stick with watercolour today and make myself stick with watercolour. So with these trees here, I'm going to take some of my darker yellow, and now that, there we go, it just says that I'm not sure that that's showing up. I'll bring it up higher. If I bring it up a little bit more, you might be able to see that it's adding to what's there. But I also want, where's my brown? There it is. I don't want the trees to kind of just sit there. So I'm kind of giving, with a damp brush, giving them a little bit of something to stand on. And I'm going to do the same with these with a damp brush. I'm going to come across a bit and down a bit as if there's a shadow going on, so that they don't look as though they're just floating, basically. And we need to do the same with these. We need to give them, we need to ground them, as I call it. So with some damp water, I'm going over the bottom of them all. And then I'm also going to drag that down a little bit. Oh, the sun's come out. And picking a dark-ish colour, I'm going to get some green in the bottom of those, because I think that will definitely help them. And the same here. Yeah, that definitely helps, basically. So I still need to do something with these trees. I'm not happy with them. So I am going to get some coloured pencils out, but I'm going to dry everything first. Okay, that is now dry. So let's see what we can do here. I think I want to try and get some kind of light going on in those trees. So I'm going to use olive yellow, which is a luminance, and just see if I can get, I'll bring it up higher so that you can see in a moment. Just want to make sure that that's working. Yeah, that's definitely better. Hold on, let it focus there. So now they're looking a little bit more 3D basically. So I think we can add a little bit of that into this tree. I'm just making little marks. I'm not doing anything clever. I'm also going to use this dark sap green and make some more little marks here to make this tree stand out a bit better. So a lot of what I've done there are almost like curvy marks, and now that is looking much better. And we're going to do the same with these trees. So they're just little kind of curvy marks that will almost like curvy scribbles, but it will just help these trees to be defined a little bit more. Of course, you don't have to go as far as I'm going. You may be happy with you know, what you had before I started using the coloured pencils, which is absolutely fine. I'm just going to also add in a bit more depth to what's underneath these trees. Okay, there we go. So you can see how now the trees are standing out better. And then I'm going to pick out some coloured pencils. What have I got here? Okay, these are just what was to hand, to be honest. I have got Autumn Leaf, which is a Holbein, and I'm going to start echoing some of these lines. This is the dark sap green. Yep, and this is spruce green. Okay, we'll add a bit of you in. And finally, colour are you? Taupe. Yep, I think you'll do nicely. A kind of a browny colour. And you can see I'm crisscrossing over these. I'm not being too careful or precious, whatever word we want to use. But I think that that definitely helps with that. And then this was where I had a blob of water, and when I tried to get rid of it, it lifted it from the paper. So I'm just going to take this autumn leaf colour now and give this field some texture and help to cover up that. There are always ways, if you see what I mean. And do we want to do anything with our mountains? Maybe we'll take this Mars Violet and just get some definition going on with those mountains, like so. There. Well, I think as an experiment, that is everything I do is an experiment, by the way. I don't know why I say that, because it always is. I'm never sure how my artwork is going to come out. I'm completely honest about that. So yeah, I think that makes, let me get rid of that reference pic now, and we can maybe zoom in a bit. I think that this makes quite a nice picture. There we go. I think it's there's nothing too taxing there, but all in all, and I love this splash of this kind of deep yellow, almost orange colour there. So there you have it. You could do different types of trees. You could use different colours. You don't have to have exactly the same shape fields as I have. You can make it your own, but it is just shapes, and I'm hoping that it means that will make it motivating for you to have a go at and be able to stay relatively calm with what you're doing. So any questions that you have, leave them below in the comments. I will leave a link to both of the reference pictures and any materials that I've used. If you do have a go, please do share what you've done on my Discord server. The link is also below. It's completely free. Have a little go and share it, and we'll build a community of people that are all like-minded, where we're all just having a go and you know, doing our best and constantly learning. So thank you so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay calm. Until I see you next time. Bye.